Welcome to Tyrompers No Limit Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Tyrompers No Limit Podcast. This is episode number 65, 66, somewhere in there today, boys and girls. You know how fired up I get. But guys, I've been looking forward to this one for weeks, man. And we had some adversity that hit us in this one with scheduling. And I always say, man, when you have some things that come up, you know it's important. So people need to hear this message. I got a man with me today. He's a hybrid athlete. He's a CEO of a nonprofit. He's the most fantastic dad in the world. Might like family walks as much as I do. I really admire this guy. I love everything he puts out. He's just a great, great guy. And welcome to the podcast, Mr. Tobi. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much. What an epic intro. I mean, I've been following you, for like 2 years now, and I'm a big, big fan of everything you do.
Well, that's very, very much likewise, man. I kind of remember when we came in touch, man, you had a really big, powerful thread that I had a lot of takeaways from and went super viral. And it's awesome to see you growing a massive following too, man. I think you just put out so much great positive content into the world and kind of share your journey. So maybe for anybody who doesn't know about you, man, can you just kind of give a little intro?
Sure. Yeah. I'm 35. I am from Germany originally and moved to Scotland straight out of high school. On the first day that I landed in Scotland, I met my now wife. So there's a bit of a fairy tale
That's
going
crazy.
on there. I think she was the third person I saw here. So yeah, it was pretty sick. But yeah, so we've been kind of going on. We've been together for like 17 years nearly. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so I came here to do a voluntary year, and it's kind of more common, I guess, in Europe, where you do like a year in an institution, in an organization that just needs some extra help. Yeah, and I did that here for the nonprofit that I now run. And so after the year, I then started going to university, studied economics. But I really enjoyed the work we were doing here, and it's just super fulfilling work. We're helping people with the additional support needs to be with disabilities, working with them every day. And yeah, so I did the kind of whole, the juggling of, growing a family with my wife, going to university, doing the job at the same time. And, always been very, very grateful for the team that I've got around me. And yeah, so that's been, kind of my life. And then after university, I became the operations manager here and then the CEO in 2019. And yeah, I've been writing online now for about 2 years, and it's been the most awesome ride. Just meeting people like yourself, it's epic.
And yeah, I love the fact that we can all connect all over. This is such a gift, man, that we wouldn't have had. And a guy like you inspires me now. A lot of places I could go, man. First, I gotta hear this wife story, man. So you land in Sweden, and is she like part of the airline or part of the like? How do you meet her, and how does this happen, man?
Yeah, so well, it was Scotland. So yeah, we landed in Edinburgh, and yeah, so she was also volunteering for this organization. So I landed here, I got picked up, and a guy picked me up and brought me to one of the homes where I then lived. I met one person, and then she was like the next person. So I remember I was walking into the kitchen, and she was standing there, and I was like, God, I didn't expect like somebody like her to be here. I thought I was just like doing something good for a year and just focus on somebody else. But yeah, it just hit me meeting her, and yeah, we hit it off right away, and yeah, it was just epic. And so we've been kind of working and living together from day one. So I think our relationship just kind of was grounded very, very quickly. We got engaged after like less than 2 years. We just knew we had found the one for life. So yeah, it's been epic.
That's so neat when you both kind of went to something bigger than yourself, right? To give, so you already know a lot about this person when you meet them, just the kind of person they are. That's really cool, man. That's awesome. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the nonprofit too, because I want to learn more about it. So can you just kind of tell me what it is, what exactly you do day to day? How many people are you kind of the CEO over now, and what your day-to-day responsibilities entail?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, so in terms of size, we've got about 100 people working here, and we're supporting about 70 adults that have some additional support needs in, various capacities. And the nonprofit provides residential houses as well as kind of day workshops. And we're really kind of trying to pride ourselves on making sure there is no, like, we don't see disability or ability here. Everybody's equal, and we're working alongside each other. So we've got wood workshops, composting, craft activities. Like we've got tons of stuff that we're doing, selling locally, and everybody's involved in the whole production and several houses, and yeah, it's a little village, and yeah, it's pretty epic.
That is so cool. And so I take it because you went to volunteer for this same nonprofit, right? All these years. So
Yeah,
you probably worked in every single role, right? All the way up.
yeah. Yeah, so I volunteered, and I've lived in the houses and worked in the gardening workshop, in the craft workshop, in the weavery, and just kind of all the way up. So yeah, that was kind of my juggling between kind of university plus working here. I could never let go really of this place. And although I was looking elsewhere, and I was offered different jobs throughout the years, but it just nothing really ever felt right. It just felt right to be here, and yeah.
So neat, man. That's awesome. Does your wife still work in some capacity with the nonprofit as well too?
Yeah. We both do. We both do.
That's so you can actually tell her I am your boss. You have to listen to me on this.
No, definitely not. She's the boss.
That's amazing, man. That's cool. And I do want to ask you a question because I've read a lot of your basically every thread you put out, man. You're a very amazing writer, Tobi, and I really appreciate all you share. But pretty recently, I think you said you got offered a job making about what, three and a half times what you're making now to come for another company. Can you talk about, maybe getting that offer, your thought process around it, and ultimately kind of deciding maybe money's not everything?
Yeah, it was. So I trained as a coach a couple of years ago, as part of my kind of personal development, because I think in my role as a kind of CEO and manager, I really want to get the best out of the team that I run, and be the best boss I can be, in that capacity. So it was somebody who did the coaching calls with me, and we got along, really well. And he just hit me up one day. He just said, "Look, do you have 20 minutes for a call?" So we jumped on a call, and fantastic guy, fantastic offer. Would have made us move to the States and all of that. And I went to my wife and was just completely blown away by it, because it's just like, amazing. And I didn't expect it. But it also made us realize what we had. And I think sometimes you just have to have these moments where you go, okay, do you want to go or do you want to stay? And it just, at that point, it hit us like, kids were settled. They're in a great school. We're living right at the edge of the kind of local national park. I can go out and hit the trails, like literally 5 seconds out of the door. And all of these things. And we're just like, yeah, we would make more money and, maybe have a couple of cars and stuff like that. But it wasn't what we were looking for. So I was super grateful for the offer, because it just made me realize what I've got.
Man, there's so many cool takeaways there, man. And I think, I don't know if maybe in Europe it's the same as the States, but the marketing here in the States is like, dude, by the time you're 18, you're basically sold like the dream is to drive this fancy car and have the mansion and wear the Rolexes. And like, that's when you've made it. Right. And so I think to kind of unlearn a lot of that for myself, it took a little bit of time, right? Like in my early 20s, I had a lot of success with poker and chased a lot of those things. And it took me actually getting to a point where I had all that stuff. And I'm like, I'm kind of more miserable than before. Maybe I need to focus on these other things. So did you just kind of see that? Do you think that's from maybe becoming an early father and kind of, because I mean, fatherhood changed everything for me, but why do you think you're so grounded in that area? I mean, most people would just say, hey, it's 3 times more the money. That's 3 times more the toys and 3 times nicer vacations and we got to take it. Right. So where do you think that comes from?
I think I was raised to chase that same dream. Right. So the people that I went to school with back in Germany, they were just really rich, most of them. And I wasn't, my family wasn't. I've always felt a bit like an outlier. And, I had people in my class that had a brand new Mini Cooper standing in the garage, and they didn't even have a driving license yet. That was the kind of, it was just beyond anything. I was driving a $200 banged up Rover. It's just like, that was kind of my life. So, but I always had that kind of dream of like, maybe making it one day. And I think part of why I went to university and, I ended up like chasing the PhD and always kind of looking for validation. And that was that external validation. So for me, that whole journey of like getting the degree and, wanting to then work for maybe, the government or, McKinsey or whatever, I did go there. I did go there in my mind. I had interviews, but it just never felt right. And, it was really only, especially with that offer when that came in, that me and my wife were just saying, okay, we could just say yes, but we're saying no to this. And actually it was, I think once you found yourself, that's when you can like be really honest with yourself, is it really what I want? Or is it, ticking a box that I believed I needed to tick at the age of 17. And it wasn't true anymore, because I've got my friends who earn that much money, but they're not more happy than me, so it wasn't worth it.
I
Yeah.
think that a lot too, man, is sometimes even as success has come a little for me, sometimes it can take you to bridges that you didn't even really want to cross, right? And I'll find myself halfway on that bridge and I'm grinding and I'm working and I'm like, really, at the end of the day, all I want is to lift weights, spend a lot of time with my family, get outside every day, be present. And that's kind of really all I want. Be connected with my wife, meet cool, interesting people and have conversations. There's not a lot of other stuff I want, but sometimes that kind of can cloud your judgment, man. Big kudos to you for realizing that. And I think, Tobi, as you were talking, I realized why I think from like day one of meeting you, I've really connected with you. You remind me a lot in a sense. My wife went and got her PhD from Purdue and was on track to like go to med school or come out of there making hundreds of thousands of dollars with these offers, right? And for the last 17 years, she's been the CEO of a very small nonprofit and made probably 10 times less each year than she could if she went to one of these big corporations. But it's such a deeper calling to her. And, the people that she helps every day, like that means so much more than driving a fancier car. Right. So that's really cool, man. I appreciate you sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, sure. No, it's a moment I had with my wife a couple of weeks ago where every year her mom gives us a lottery ticket. It's just like one of the presents, and we were just thinking like, what if we won? And we both just actually looked at each other and said, well, we'll probably just, maybe do one really cool holiday a year. But it wasn't in terms of we want to move or we want to do something different. I was thinking like, actually, I would still want to do this job because it's so fulfilling, helping others, really trying to make a dent in the world, helping society move forwards, getting rid of stigma. And at the end of the day, I think also for my children, the work we do is showing them that, we can all contribute, people with disabilities are, wonderful, wonderful people. And we can learn so much from, all the people that we work with. And what more do I want? Maybe, go, as I said, on a nice holiday. But apart from that, this is a job I want to do.
And I think that's such a lesson for maybe anybody younger out there too, is, you don't need to chase, you need to chase that inner fulfillment. And I've kind of said before, if you don't have that mission, that's something bigger than yourself, shouldn't watch another day of TV, man. You should do nothing until you discover what that passion is and what really makes you tick. And I mean, seeing a guy like you who just says, yeah, I don't need anything, man. Me and my wife joke about that too. If you put $10 million in our account today, we just give away probably 8 of it, man. Or like we might take different vacations, but that's pretty much it. I don't feel like I need to escape my life like a lot of people do. And so when you've created that very intentionally, man, I think that's very honorable and that's really cool. And then, I want to get into the fatherhood with you because I mean, we share a lot of commonalities. I always see you got the kid on your back, you're hiking, you're running, you're chasing them. Talk about that, I guess, being a father, what that means to you, getting outdoors with them, letting your kids meet a lot of these people that you get to work with too. And I'm sure they experience each other, and what a great blessing that is.
Yeah. I mean, fatherhood, as you rightly said, just changes everything. I remember the moment when my wife said that she was pregnant. I was obviously, like every other dad, super scared, right? You're like, oh, I mean, we were fairly young, like 23, and you're like, oh, and there's like obviously none of my friends, were ever close to having kids. So it's just like, the outlier again. But yeah, and then, having our first son, it changes everything. And I find your motivation for everything just, it's 10x everything. You want to make sure that, you're providing for them, of course. You want to make sure they grow up in a healthy and loving environment, and which makes you take care of your relationship with your partner. But also for me, it's about setting that example. About it's not about some chest pounding stuff, but it's about being a good guy. Just a good person that shows them what does it mean to love your wife or husband or whatever it is, and what does it mean to just be a good person, and living that every day. That to me is just everything. Yeah.
And it's so cool how you definitely model that, man, where you're always out with your kids and always very intentional and putting some of that content online. And to me, I do think I live a successful life if when my kids are older and my grandkids are around and they just say, yeah, like Tyler and Annie, man, they gave us a house full of love and encouragement and support and provided our need, like that. To me, that's the biggest definition of success. And to not chase some of these other things is I think just pretty admirable, man. So what's your favorite activities, go-to activities as a dad, man? I know you guys do a ton of hikes because I see you guys hiking all the time.
Yes.
And how many kids do you have, Toby?
6.
That's what, okay. I didn't know if it was
Yeah.
5 or 6, man. Yeah,
Yeah,
6.
yeah,
Are you continuing that journey? Are you gonna go for a full baseball team, or is it?
No, no. I mean, it's funny because obviously everybody we know, every couple of years we're saying like, "Oh, we're pregnant, we're pregnant." It's a running joke for everybody. But truth is that when I met my wife, so even before, we were a couple, she always said she wanted 6 kids. Like that was always her thing. And I'm pretty sure I said 4, but she said I agreed to 6. So we've got 6.
Women
But
have a
yeah,
way of remembering the past better than we do, man. They make
yeah, exactly.
certain ways,
Yeah, and she's the boss, so whatever the boss says goes. So yeah, but yeah, she always wanted to have that was her calling, right? So I think I've always been incredibly admiring her for knowing what she wanted to do. Like her calling was she wanted to be a mom. Like she trained to be a teacher, and she could have gone down a different path or whatever, but she always said I don't know why, but that was in her, and I was looking for my calling for way longer than her. She knew what she wanted to do. And so, she, as I said, she trained as a teacher. She worked a bit in the kindergarten, and maybe she will do that again. Once the kids are out of the house. I don't know, but yes, that was her thing, and yeah, I mean, it changed everything for me in terms of favorite activities. I guess hiking. Yeah, I mean, we're blessed. I mean, our surroundings are pretty epic.
those
Weather is pretty miserable. What was that?
Do you only have like half the year so you guys can get out? Because the photos are amazing, man. When you post some of those hikes just look crazy, man.
Yeah. I mean, right now it's just kind of really snow, ice, rain. It's not nice. But at the end of the day, I mean, I did 75 hard last year around this time, so you can go out. But yeah, anything outdoors, I think, kayaking, I like playing basketball with the kids, just pick up basketball outside, or the kids have gotten into skateboarding. So, really whatever they want to do. We like, archery. It's just a
Yeah.
big bunch of stuff. Yeah.
That's the key to being a dad right there. I think you hit the nail on the head. You present a bunch of things to your kids, and whatever they like doing, guess what? You like doing now. I never thought I'd play Legos as much as I did with my daughter, or know all the Disney princesses and have tea parties with her. But you know what? That's what we did for a while, man. And
Yeah.
I think just exposing your kids to a lot of things and getting them outside, man. I just made a YouTube video a couple days ago, it'll come out next week, about the average boy. This blew my mind, man. Watches 44 hours of screen time per week and will spend less than 30 minutes with a male figure each week. That's,
Wow.
I mean, like of one-on-one time. That blew my mind. So it's like, who's really raising our young boys? And so when I see your family, and obviously anybody who follows me, man, me and my kids are outside hours. I mean, it's a 4 hours a day, probably. We're outside playing
Wow.
and exploring, and that's just a big part of our life. But I think that's how we can really kind of change the world and impact it in a big way in our homes, right? So I love seeing you do
Yeah.
that every day, man.
Yeah. I think it's really about exposing them to the outdoors. And what we find a lot is when the kids are fighting, or when they're not really happy, say Saturday morning was a busy week or whatever, and everybody's like, oh, a bit grumpy. But we make them go out, within 10 minutes, everybody is in a completely different headspace. So, we see all these Twitter accounts always saying, journaling, get outside, blah, blah. I don't know how many actually do, but the thing is, I can see with my kids, as soon as they come back, they're just in a very, very different space. So we make sure that every day there's time outside. Doesn't matter the weather, they can warm up after they get a hot chocolate, but some time outside is good for them.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I think bundle up and get out. Society's come too soft, man. It's like I was taking my daughter hiking not that long ago, and it was like 103. And we actually had a lady stop us going in and be like, oh, she shouldn't be going. She looks too young. And I'm like, dude, we got waters. Like, she's fine. If she needs a rest, we'll rest. But like, we don't need to coddle our kids as much. Like, get them outside,
No.
let them play. What do you think humans have been doing for the last, how many years we've been around this planet? So it's, yeah,
Exactly.
I'm 100%, man. Well, tell me some kind of like, what was your journey to start sharing on social media? Because like you said, it's only been a couple years you've kind of been sharing that journey. What was your kind of one day did you just decide, then I'm going to start putting my thoughts out there? And to see your community grow to 50,000 now on Twitter, and just so many people that are, love your writing and gain a lot from your insights. What's that been like? What's that meant to you?
Yeah, so I think it probably came a bit out of lockdown, because I started in, beginning of 21. but also I had, all kind of my really close friends don't live close by anymore. So, one of them moved, to Germany, one of them moved to Australia. And so all my connections are kind of always kind of further away. So although, obviously family is really important and, I've got my wife and I've got friends obviously here in Edinburgh as well, but I didn't feel I had these kind of these kind of mental sparring partners that I used to have at university and stuff like that. So, and I felt that there was a community of people out there that I wanted to meet, but I had no idea how, So I am into crazy workouts. I'm into, going on, long runs, challenging yourself. And I like all of that stuff, but nobody really here wanted to do that. So I was just like, okay, what am I going to do? And I remember watching a video by David Perel, and he was talking about the power of writing online. And that kind of led me down the rabbit hole. And I just, I started a blog and I started a newsletter and had like 13 people that I made sign up. So I had my friends, my wife and my parents, like I said, like, oh, I've got this thing, and I sent this newsletter. I think the first one's in February 21. And it was 13 people for a long time and never changed. But it was just like every week, I was just like writing stuff, and it was kind of therapeutic. But over the course of me writing that and writing a blog, and I started slowly sharing also on Twitter. And then I started meeting people. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like these are the people I was kind of looking for, including you, but these were, you were following them. And then over time, the more you do it, if you stay consistent, as at one point people, come back to you. And, there's something going on there which suddenly explodes, I guess. And really, I think January last year, so following was, I think I had like 250 followers on Twitter. And I kind of decided last year, like, okay, let's just give this a go, because I felt when I saw that all my newsletter subscribers came via Twitter. So people found me there and then they subscribed to the newsletter. And that really grew it. So, out of the 13, it's not massive. I mean, we've got, I think, 1,600 now, so, but that's for me, that's, I'm not selling anything. It's just a weekly kind of newsletter going out from one day, trying to explain, how I kind of juggle work and life and, just some stories along the way. And yeah, I mean, the last year was wild, man. I mean, the people I've met, the community, it's just been absolutely incredible.
Man, well, I'm grateful you're a part of it, man, because you add so much value to it. And I think that's awesome. It's funny that we started the same way. I'll never forget about like 4 years ago, I started this called Tyler's 2 for Tuesday newsletter, where I made all my friends sign up, like my mom, and and I write this thing every Tuesday. And then that just kind of, my love for writing started to develop. And then I just somehow found some cool people on Twitter, Zach Hommel and Ryan Stevens, these guys that were just thought and kind of saw the world a little more like me than maybe some of the people I was with, day in and day out. And I thought, wow, this is neat that we can connect with kind of these like-minded people, man. So we've had a very similar journey on there, I feel like, man. But yeah, I love, do you have like an intentional goal to get out a certain amount of threads a week, or what's kind of your goals around social media?
Yeah, I think two threads a week are great, but if I can, a minimum of one, I like to do like one original piece a week. So something that I can then, share, especially with the newsletter following. So, whatever that is. And in the beginning, it was a lot of, I was trying to teach myself stuff, and I was just writing about whatever I was kind of learning, like I was like optimizing how I spend my mornings, but even just sharing what I was doing anyway. And now I'm trying, I guess, to really just be as authentic as I can be and just share my learnings along the way and just try and help, myself of 6 months ago, myself of 6 years ago, whatever I just needed at that time. And, just listening also to what the audience wants, having little messages come through and just saying, this was inspirational, or this helped me. Or the other day, I just, put up a little video of me rowing, it's just silly. And, you feel stupid when you post it. But then somebody wrote back, like, you made me, get out and work out for the first time in years. I'm like, this is all worth it. If I change somebody's life by just putting this little message out, fantastic, because that's what I get out of this, it's seeing people like you and others just like crushing it. And I go like, wow, I'm not jealous, I'm inspired. And that's, if I can do that for somebody else, that's amazing.
Man, yeah, to me, that's the coolest piece of all this, is like the ripple effect too, right? Like that guy might have gotten up and worked out for the first time, and now how good does that make him feel, right? And maybe he's got a wife and a kid, and now the kid sees dad working out more consistently, and now he's gonna work out and get healthy, and now his friends, and it's just like it goes on, and maybe his buddies see him, and he inspires one of them to do. And it's like the coolest thing ever, that we live in an age Yeah, we can, I feel silly too, man. I like put a video up of just shooting baskets. Hey, get your cardio. I do it in interesting ways, right? And then you got somebody saying you've inspired me to go out and find hobbies that I like that are more active than just watching TV, and it feels good to put good things out there, man. And I think anybody who's watching this, man, if you use social media for any other way, you go on there and you argue about Nancy Pelosi and I don't know who these people are, and Mitch McConnell, I don't know who these people are, but like you're just doing it wrong, man. You need to go out there and inspire and find like-minded people, and just the fact that you want to help and look at all the goodness that comes back to you, through that is amazing, man. Well, I want to link your newsletter below, everything, we'll link Tobi's Twitter and newsletter below, obviously, guys. But I do want to get into some of the hybrid athlete type stuff too, because
Sure.
I'm honestly a pretty big fan of that. I did 75 hard last year too, and it's cool watching you do some of that crazy stuff, man. So I guess first, how did you get into that?
I think I got into, so I was always into fitness, but really not, I was never good in high school and anything. So I wasn't like an athlete in any sports. I was always just kind of a gym rat. So that was kind of my thing. And then in 2013, I discovered CrossFit. So that's how it all started. And the reason why I really liked it is because I hated running. My whole life, I hated running more than anything. But I kind of thought I probably should do it. And then I saw CrossFit, and it looked easy because it was like, you do some kettlebell swings, you do some pull-ups, and you do 400-meter run. You do that 3 times and you're good. And I was like, I could do that. That looks easy enough, until you've tried it and okay, this is really ass kicking.
Everything looks easy until you do it.
Yeah. But that kind of, so that kind of got me into this whole thing. And I think you've seen, I've written about the Kokoro camp I did back in California in 2016. So that was kind of, CrossFit kind of came into that, which is, kind of a beefed up version of CrossFit, I guess, to a certain extent. And it was just about testing myself, just, how much can I push myself? I was trying it with academia, I was trying it with business, but I felt like, look, there's something about, I also, wanted to be the fit dad. Like I want to outrun my grandkids. I want them to go like, oh, damn, there's granddad again. The pictures of me carrying 2 kids now, I want to carry 2 grandkids, like up the mountains in Scotland, and just like for them to have an epic adventure. So I think out of the kind of notion of wanting to push myself, I really wanted to then go into like, okay, how, I want to be really fit and healthy for as long as possible. And then out of CrossFit, I kind of started this approach of like lifting and running, or lifting and rowing. And, I just did that. And I guess the hybrid athlete is just kind of a fairly recent term. So I've done it for a while, and, this is what it's coined now. But yeah, really kind of trying to push both. So to be strong and functionally fit, also to be able to, be an endurance athlete. Because, that's, I think, it's just a really cool way to live.
I love that, man. Yeah, you kind of check all the boxes, and I can relate to that. My biggest goals in fitness now are just like I kind of want to be like my dad. Honestly, about 20 minutes ago, before we hopped on this podcast, he texted me that he went for a run today, and I said, hey man, I did too. And it's cold out here. It's like 39, right? I live in Vegas, and 39 Fahrenheit, and so my dad razzes me back, and he's like, at 39, I'd be in shorts and a tank top, man. It's 4 degrees here, and I still went twice as long as you, like. But I want to be that dad. Like when my dad comes to visit, he's 65, and he'll throw the grandkids on his shoulders, and we'll do a 10-mile hike. And like to my dad, that's really nothing. My mom is 65. She gets up and lift weights every day, like
awesome.
She can go on hikes with our family and bike rides. And to me, that's what health and fitness is about. And it's for everyone, right? And you found what works for you. You love being a hybrid athlete, pushing yourself in this way. I just pray that everybody can discover what makes them tick. Keep pushing yourself, keep growing, keep, you want to be healthy into your 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, God willing, right? And you found a way to do it, which is amazing, man.
Yeah. And I find, especially, for me, kind of my anchor. So I always remember there's a video by The Rock, and he was talking about kind of his, what is his anchor in his life. And for me, my anchor, like for him, is the early morning workout. Like that's the number one thing. If, yeah, we've got 6 kids, they will get up in the night, and I'm not going to be some superhuman who can live off 2.5 hours of sleep and just suck it up, like I can't do that. But they're normally very good sleepers, so most of the time it works out. But yeah, so I'll my alarm rings at 4:55, get up, do my journaling, because I think again that's a really healthy practice to just reflect a bit on what's going on in your mind. But then go out and hit a workout, whether that's in my disused garden shed that I've made into a little gym, or just, pick up some kettlebells, do farmer's walk, go for a run, do some hill sprints, whatever it is. But setting that baseline of having done something physical and, as you know, just filling your cup up first, you're then ready for the day. You're ready for your family. And I just find I can just handle my emotions much better. If I've done that, I've done something hard, I can then be with them. And screaming kids don't annoy me as much afterwards. And I mean, equally, my wife is the same. So again, I think that's what makes a great marriage. Like we've grown alongside each other. So she was never into fitness. I kind of discovered it probably a bit first and did the CrossFit thing. And she saw how much it meant to me. So she hopped on the bandwagon and she did it, and now she works out in the morning too. And, we both feel that we're better parents for it because, we're fit, we're healthy, and yeah, we're just more in control of, our emotional state.
Absolutely. There's so many fantastic points there. And I hope we need to make that a clip right there, man. You win the morning and you win the day. You wake up and you said, I fill myself up first. And could you share, I know you hit on like the journaling and some of the because you've written some really good threads on what exactly is your morning routine, and is it pretty non-negotiable for you then, or what's that look like day in and day out?
Yeah. So, I mean, non-negotiable, as I said, caveat being having kids, we all know, there can be
Yes.
late nights, yeah, visits and whatever. So that can always happen. But if everything goes to plan, yeah, just wake up just before 5, get up, big cold glass of water, always to flush out toxins and whatever. And then ideally I'll do a bit of reading. So at the moment I'm reading Ryan Holiday's Daily Stoic, which is amazing because it's just one page, it's just a great story kind of insight, and reflect on that a bit. Then I will do journaling just to kind of clear my mind. I will normally at that point also check just my calendar and just be a bit clear in terms of what's coming, for the day, because sometimes I will also tailor my workout depending on what's coming. Just to kind of know, if I'm sitting for a very, very long time, then I might want to do some deadlifts or go for a run, just to kind of counter that. But if I'm like up active and walking around, I might do something different. So I'm a bit using my intuition for the workout. But yeah, so kind of reflecting on the day, and then we'll go out and kind of hit my workout. And again, I will use the workout. So sometimes I'll go for a run and not listen to anything. But other times when I know that a difficult work meeting comes up or whatever, I'll choose my podcast quite intentionally, or an audiobook that might talk about business, that might talk about leadership, just to get my mindset right. Already during the workout, I'll hit the weights and everything, but just to prime myself a bit in terms of what's to come. So if I have a board meeting coming up, I might listen to, one of Jocko's books or whatever, just to be really in the mindset of like, okay, how do I make sure that, I stay calm and detached, and I serve the board and serve the organization as well, as good as I can. And yeah, that takes me up till 6:30 kids get up, and then we've got 90 minutes to prep all our meals, because if we don't prep in the morning, it's not going to work out. So we have breakfast with the kids, make their lunch boxes, prep dinner, and then 8 o'clock, dad taxis leaving for school.
Yeah, the dad taxi leaving for school. But I love that, and how you said too, you're more able to handle. I mean, with 6 kids going everywhere and a lot of chaos in the morning, this was a big realization for me 4.5, 5 years ago, where, I mean, I hate that this is hilarious, but I would wake up, I'd snooze 4 or 5 times, to the point where my wife would be like, why don't you just set one alarm later? Like, quit snoozing, But so I'm already starting the day with a bunch of losses by snoozing. Then I just scroll my phone until my daughter came running in. And then now I've absorbed all the problems of the world, reading about the news and everything's up to here, anxiety. Now my daughter comes in, and now we got lunches. Now I got work. Now I got meetings. Dude, my cup was already so low. And so I think, winning the morning like you do, and you got to get up, right? And that starts the night before. Like, what time do you guys usually go to bed? What's your bedtime routine, Toby?
It's been too late recently. Ideally, I'll be in bed by 10. So 7 hours is good.
Yeah.
But as I said, sometimes, as I said, with kids and work, like I had a board meeting a couple of weeks ago, so that just means late night work for me, because I'd rather spend the evening reading to the kids and playing a game and then working late than, working until 6, 7, and, I find my little girl asleep in bed. That's not, so I'd rather stack it up in that sense. But yeah, so normally in bed by 10.
Nice, man. And I think that's such a critical piece too, to kind of know where your values align, right? Like, as an entrepreneur too, there's always more to do. There's always more work I could do, but there's just times where, dude, my phone's going to be in the other way and I'm with the kids, and it doesn't matter what else is going on. that's where my main mission is going to be. And so I love how you said that too, man. But that's awesome too, how a piece I want to hit on is how in marriage, I think we make each other better if we do marriage right. And maybe your wife wasn't so into fitness. And I'm sure if we were to, dissect your marriage, there's probably things that you weren't that great at or cognizant of that you've learned from your wife, right?
Oh,
And
100%.
I see that with me and my wife back and forth all the time, where she makes me better in a lot of areas where I'm quite frankly just not good at. And she can help me kind of make up for those things. And I think I do the same for her. That's an amazing, amazing spot to be in, man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, as you said rightly, yeah, the fitness, I might have, had a bit of an edge, but in life in general, it's her. I mean, she is an incredibly intuitive person, and she is 400 million times the better parent than I am, right? She is an amazing, amazing parent, absolutely. And I really rely on her to know, to guide this family and to know what the kids need. And I mean, how she manages to keep all the stuff in the head. And I'm not talking just about like to-do lists and calendar, because that's a lot for six. I mean, if I could have a PA just for the kids, that would be amazing, because they need one, But the small stuff, being aware of, this kid has a play coming up in a week's time, and they might be a bit, emotionally drained, or they might need a bit of extra support, or this person is going on a play date here and they might be a bit anxious and whatever. And she knows that, and she feels it, and she's there for them. And I just run around, as I said, dad taxi, just doing the thing, and like I forget everything left, right, and center. So I'm in awe how she does it. And I mean, I think, it's team. It's a team. And but yeah, she is definitely the foundation of this family.
Man, I can fist pump on that. I can say any guy listening to this should take a moment here, pause it, and text your wife how grateful you are, because they do a million things. Like, it blows my mind too that my wife will say things like, "Oh, it's Tinley's pajama day next week, and her pajamas are dirt. I need to do this or that. This boy has this thing in a couple of days." I'm so locked in and focused on what I'm doing. Usually, I have no idea what's going on. And over here, there's 100 things she does every day that I think a lot of guys just take for granted. And it's awesome to tell our wives sometimes that, man, we just see you. We're so grateful how you run this house so successfully. And then I always joke, man, people on Twitter are like, "Oh, you're a great dad, this and that." I'm like, dude, I just get to come in and have fun. Like my wife handles most of the annoying stuff. And I just take the kids to the park. I just build forts. I just get to have squirt gun fights. Like that's pretty easy, right? Pretty fun stuff. But I do think when you have a partnership that works in that way, that can benefit and work for both of you, and there's nothing better than that. There's nothing more important than that. And I think, how blessed can we make, we make families great again, man. And make that the norm. Boy, in a couple of generations, our society would look a lot different, I think,
Yeah. And it's all about making space and time for them, 100%, so I think our state, and we're very, very lucky, because work, I can work from home some days, if I really wanted to, but work for me is, my commute is about a minute. So it is, it's very, very close. So that's very lucky, because it means, we can, have, a 20-minute lunch date, just have some time together, or, I might pick up the kids in the afternoon, but then, we might be, having again dinner together. So I'll go for a walk, or, whatever else is kind of possible, just to kind of always make sure we have got some solid family time every day. And also we always make sure that in the evening we've got some solid some solid wife and husband time, at least, 30 to 60 minutes to just be, and it might be that we're reading something, but we're with each other and we can check in, if something was up with the kids, and we're both aware of that. And I know you're big on your date nights. I think at the moment, there's still a bit little for the date night, so we can't go away. But what we found is we do hikes, so we, I take out an hour during the week, and we just go for a hike, as two little ones on the back, but they're good. But it just gives us time to just be husband and wife and just talk through, what's happening, both short term, instead of, in terms of like what's on the calendar, but also where we're heading as a family. Like, where are we going? How are the kids doing? Are we doing it right? And just that reflective practice and being together and with each other.
And I think a couple great points there is like, hey, what works for me in my season of life might not work for you, but you guys have found what works for you. And I think that's so cool, man. We hire a sitter just to take a walk sometimes, man. That's what we do on a lot of our date nights, is just go connect, hold hands, and enjoy each other's company, right? And talk about those bigger things. And then instantly where my brain, went to when you were talking about that was, when you got that big offer, not that long ago, how you two probably had a really strong foundation of already where you wanted your family to go and why and your mission together. And so it probably wasn't that chaotic. You'd already talked about a lot of these bigger things, right? You could just sit down pretty logically and keep doing what you've practiced doing, right? And I think that's an amazing thing, man, that shows, I think a lot of marriages or a lot of families, something big can come in and it can really derail if you haven't laid that foundation of that. And that's an important point, man. I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, over the time, as I said, we've worked together for so long, and we're working with people. That's the business we're in. So we've seen dramas in all shapes and sizes and forms, but we've also weathered them together. So we've been through the storms. So we've got that rapport with each other, and we know how each other work, and when the other one might need some rest and might need some support, and that's just like a fluid, well-functioning machine. But if you don't oil it, which is making time and space for each other, it can also break. So it's vitally important to make space for that.
I agree, man. 100%. All right. Well, I got to hit Alex Cherry here fired a question off when he found out we were doing a podcast. So I got to fire a question. I think you said you couldn't see it either. So you've kind of answered it a little bit, but it's how is it juggling family duties while still being a hybrid athlete? To expand on that, what techniques and time blocking do you do to achieve the results you've achieved?
Yeah. I mean, the foundation is the morning workout, right? So that is the thing, so I have at least like the 60 minutes if I can. Sometimes it's shorter, depending on the day, but to get that morning in. I do think a cardio base through hiking is incredibly important, and we've combined that with family time. So, we have got so many ballet and tennis and judo runs and whatever. I'll take the little ones with me. They go in the rucksack, and we go for 45 minutes for a walk. So if I can get that in every day, that's fantastic. But then the other thing might just be, a late evening kind of bike session, just to get the cardio base in. So, and I find that incredibly therapeutic as well. After a big long work day, and, emotions are up and down, and, might have had some really tough conversations at work, to just kind of have that outlet of some sports and cardio can be really, really beneficial. And I love working out with the kids. That's the other thing. So on the weekend, like last year, especially when it's 75 hard, obviously you do 2 workouts a day. So I always on the weekend try to do with my kids. So, I have my 2 eldest join me, do sit-ups with me, do some rounds, they do the deadlifts, and it's just such fun time to do that with them and teach them technique, and teach them how to, eat properly and all of that. And it just makes it fun. And I think, then staying active and being an athlete in whatever capacity is easy.
Man, I love that. And I think that's such a underrated thing from a lot of dads, right? That you can incorporate your kids into a lot of this. One of my good buddies, he coaches, he's got 5 kids, and he coaches a lot of them in sports. And I mean, he says, I'm out there running with my kids. I don't tell them to run sprints. I go run with them, right? And when he's taking other kids to practice, he'll take a couple others along, and they'll walk laps around the practice when he's not coaching, just to, hey, have some family time, have some bonding. It checks a lot of those boxes. I think that's why I'm so adamant about family walks, man. We do a couple a day because it's fun. We're bonding. I make a little checklist. Do you think we can spot an airplane? Can we spot a dog? Can we spot this? So we're talking about those things as we're moving, as we're bonding, we're burning calories. We're out there teaching them and showing them that that's important. And you just check so many boxes, man. I love that. Because as a busy dad, it's not like you get 2 hours, 6 days a week blocked off, and the kids aren't going to be sick. And it's not like we're actual athletes that have the optimal, our whole job is just to be in great shape, right? So you have to improvise, and you have to have some of those other kind of things in place, man. And it sounds like you have all those, and that's why you're successful.
Yeah. I think when you have kids, it really is about doing it with them. That's probably the only way. One thing, and it hasn't happened here for the last couple of years, but I'm really into Spartan racing. I really love that kind of aspect of going long, but then having these kind of obstacles in between. And the kids have done it as well. So that's been fantastic. So we work out for that together, and that's just super rewarding. And, normally the long run is on a Saturday, so I'll do that and come home completely broken. And then the kids go on the Sunday, and it's just we had this, I think 3 of these weekends where everybody gets the medals, and it's hard earned, and it's just such a boost. And the kids always ask for when is the next one. And, COVID put a bit of a spanner into it, but we did our own little challenges and did our own little things, and it's just fun. It's just fun.
there's got to be no better feeling as a dad than like, watching your kids cross and knowing that you worked hard together to achieve that. And you think about all that instills in them that's going to stay with them for life, right? It's my daughter last year had a 5K at school. It was you could do a 1 mile run or a 5K. And she said to me and my wife, I want to do the 5K. And there wasn't many her age in first grade at the time that were doing a 5K. So it was a limited time. And so we said, you got to practice, and you got to do all these things. And to see her make it and come across and then have the medal, take a lot of pride in it and those lessons, man. I went out there and ran a few laps with her. So did my wife, encouraging her. And it was just, you get to the end of something like that and you're like, that's what life is about, man. It's so fun,
Yeah, no, 100%. I remember with the last Spartan race, like my big one, he was already in that kind of preteen category, and they went out into the woods and we couldn't see him for like 10 minutes, but then he just came running back and had this massive smile on his face. It's like, yeah, crush the obstacles and whatever, it was such a cool moment of like really seeing your son disappear and conquer something and just, coming back with the rewards. It was just absolutely fantastic.
Man, that's amazing. Do your kids work in your nonprofit a little bit too? Not like hired hands yet because they're younger, but do you take them in and kind of, meet a lot of the people and things like that too?
Yeah. I mean, it's been part of their kind of upbringing home, since day one. So for them, that's just normal. We celebrate a lot of festivals here, and they will join in for that, and we have like open days, and they'll be there. So for them, this is just a big bunch of friends that they've known ever since they were born. So yeah. 100%.
I love that. Tobi, I love everything about you, brother. I love what you put out into the world. I love what you share online. I love the kind of man and father and husband you are. I admire you a whole heck of a lot, man. And I know you've had a couple experiences with the negativity online when these people are wild out there, man. You can literally just put the nicest thing out and some people will find a problem with it. But I think it's 99.9% positive, right? And what are kind of maybe share some of your future plans? What are, where can people find you? Again, I'm going to link your Twitter and your newsletter below. Let's get this man to 2,000 subscribers, man, after this podcast. Let's have some people sign up to his newsletter. Again, he just said he's not selling anything. I know that's the cool thing about your Twitter is you just seem so authentic and genuine. And I'm not trying to sell you an ebook or anything I'm just kind of sharing life, man. And it's really cool to see and refreshing.
Yeah. I mean, just go onto my Twitter, or the website is forgingbalance.com. So that's kind of been a new one. I'm really trying to kind of get into that, forging the balance between family life, business, as well as your personal goals. Because a lot of the dads that I talk to, it's that kind of realm that we struggle with. It's like, we've kind of made it in business, we've got, whatever position we've got, we might be making the money that we need for the family. But we also want to spend more time with our kids and be more intentional about how we spend time with our kids. But then, we also want to do some stuff that fulfills us. And it might be, it's not to be away from the kids, but it's be, doing something that fulfills you so you can be a better father and a better business person. So, and I think that kind of, that trifecta is kind of, it's enforcing each corner to be better for the other three or other two. So that's kind of my niche I'm trying to really get into, is this forging of this balance of like, getting this triangle stronger and stronger and stronger, because that makes you as a whole person better. So yeah, that's the website. And, as I said on the Twitter, there's a link in there too.
I love that, man. Well, this is, again, probably one of the best guys you can follow on Twitter. It brightens my timeline. I go to your page every single day to see a thread you put out or see what you're putting out, man. There's not a day that I don't miss it. And I have very few people like that, man. So I really appreciate everything.
Well, thank you.
Put out, man.
This is absolutely likewise. I absolutely love what you're putting out. The positivity is just infectious whenever you go into your side, and what you do with your kids. And, it's people like you that just push everybody to just, work harder, but not in the hustle culture, but just work harder on ourselves, to make sure that we are the dad we want to be, and, get out with our kids and, just have fun with them. And I think that's what I love about you. You're always having fun with your kids, and that makes me want to have more fun with them. So it's absolutely awesome.
I appreciate that, brother. Well, I'll tell you what, we don't buy lottery tickets, but if I do win the lottery or have a big windfall of money, the first thing I'm going to do is buy a ticket to Edinburgh. I'm going to bring my whole family. We're going to come hike with you guys, and we're going to hang out.
Yes, man.
Man. And likewise, if you're ever in the States, man, please hit me up. I would love to connect on that level too, man. But I'm going to link again, guys, everything that Tobi does below. We'll put his website, his newsletter, sign up for that. Give this man a follow on Twitter. He is literally, what's your handle on there, Toby?
It's Tobi _ and then Emmons.
Gotcha. All right. And we'll link that below, guys. But yeah, one of the best follows out there. You want to give a last word to the people, man, before I wrap us up?
Yeah, I mean, just thank you for anybody who was listening. Definitely it's the best place to be is with Ty, and absolutely honor to be here. And this was my first podcast, so that was really fun.
Oh, wow, man, dude, that's amazing. Well, you're a pro, brother. We'd love to have you back on, man. We'll have you back on every so often, just as kind of a staple,
Awesome.
because I feel like I'm made better every time I chat with men like you, man. So really appreciate it. Well, anybody listening, I appreciate it. This is Tyrompers No Limit Podcast, episode like maybe 65, 66, 67, somewhere around there. We thank you guys for tuning in. Go have the greatest day of your life. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Put out there in the world what you want to get back, and let's go change the world, everybody. Have the best day of your life.